Hey everybody, Cody with Princess Craft RV, and today we're going to do our technical walkthrough on our 2026 Cirrus 620 truck camper from nuCamp. So let's start right up here on the front. There's not a whole lot on the exterior, but let's go through it. So the camper is going to be equipped with the Ryco Titan jacks that are electric. They do have a manual override option. You're going to remove this cap on the top of the jack. You want to make sure and unplug the jack from the wall. It's just a 2-pin connection. And then it's going to be a 3/8 drive ratchet, and you may need a little short, like 2-inch or 4-inch extension on it, and you can manually crank these if the jack fails, and that way you can still get it loaded and unloaded as needed. Moving back from there, we're going to have your 30 amp shore connection. It's just a 30 amp short cord. We're going to take and line up our little L pin there with our cord, plug in, give it a little twist, and then you want to make sure and lock down the plastic lock ring. We want a good tight connection there so we don't have any arcing or overheating that could cause melting. Underneath here, we're going to have our anchors, and these are going to be ratchet style. So to get these to work, you're going to pull this, keep it all the way open, and that's going to leave the coil released so it can auto retract as you lower the camper in. So you have the camper up, you back the truck under it, and then you're going to take these and run them to your anchors that are in the bed of your truck, and then you're going to lower it down, and these will auto retract up. Once you're all the way in, you're going to pull that handle, and then you just want to give it a couple of more ratchets till it's nice and snug. If your truck doesn't have weight rated anchors in the bed, you may need to look at the Torque Lift Apex in-bed mounts for truck campers such as this, or if you have a composite bed, the Apex anchor may be your best bet there, so your truck camper is nice and stable and secured with proper anchoring in the bed of your truck. Also under here, we're going to have your external propane line hookup for an external grill. It's just a quick connect fitting. Push the collar back, take your hose, push it in, release that. I like to give it a little tug, make sure it stays in. Once you've confirmed that and you're hooked up to your grill, you're going to flip that little lever there, and that's going to allow the gas to actually flow, and it's also going to lock that collar so you can't accidentally disconnect it. And then you're to disconnect, you're just going to shut it off, push the collar back, the hose is going to pop out, and then you can put everything away. And don't forget to put your dust plug back in. Propane compartment right here on the side is going to come with a single 20-pound propane cylinder, holds roughly 5 gallons of propane. It's also just a storage compartment, so you can fit some stuff in here. Yeah, not a whole lot in there. That's all you got. Moving on around to the back, this vent right here is actually for the propane compartment, so don't block it. Cassette toilet access on the outside here. So to get this out, we're just gonna pick up on the blue handle here and pull this guy out. Once we get it out, now we can take it to our dump station or toilet access or whatever we got. We're going to tip the spout out, remove the cap, and then we're going to push down on this little button right here, which is a vent, so this thing doesn't create a lot of suction and splash real hard. Just going to push down, and then we're just going to empty it. Once it's emptied, now we can remove this cover here. You can manually open the flap with this blue handle here, and now you can rinse this out and give it a good cleaning before you reinstall it. Once you get done, just make sure you close that and put your cover back on. Put your cap back on. Put your spout away. Now if you can't carry this, it does have a dolly option, so you can wheel this to the station. But to put it away, we're just going to take it, wheels first, and slide it right back in there and make sure it latches back in. Below that, we're going to find access for our low point drains and our gray water sewer connection, which is going to be our sink and shower. And we're also going to find our 7-way cord that stores and then pulls out. And when you're in tow or in carry, however you want to call it, you're just going to fish this through the opening on the door, lock it shut, and then you can pull this out and it'll plug in at the 7-way at the back of your truck. Again, we've got your bayonet cap right here. Just going to do a standard sewer hose connection. dump valve for the gray. We've got your freshwater tank drain, and then your hot and cold water drains are on this side of the compartment. Other compartment that we've got down here is going to be for some more storage. It's also got some service access for some plumbing that's in there. So, you know, just make sure if you're putting stuff in and taking stuff in, putting it in, taking it out, that you don't knock any of your plumbing loose or interfere with your dump cable or anything like that. Okay, now we've got your Nautilus water system here. Water hose is actually going to pass through the bottom of the access port here. You do have an access, so you can run your hose up in and connect it to the city water connection and still be able to keep this compartment closed. And for the Nautilus features, you do have a diagram chart on here depending on what you want to do, whether you're dry camping, you're filling your fresh water tank, or you're just connected to city water service. So you just place these valves here according to the diagram based on what you're doing, and everything should flow like it's supposed to. Right below that, we do have your outside spray port. It's going to be a quick connect, much like that LP hose that we talked about. And it just comes with a little spray nozzle, and then you've got hot and cold water out here. All right, so here we are on the passenger side of the 620, and just a couple things over here. We've got your Alde exhaust and fresh air intake for the Alde system, so some heat will come out of this anytime you're running the Alde on propane. And then we've got two exterior 110 outlets. All right, that pretty much covers the outside. Let's hop inside and go over what's in there. All right, so just inside the Cirrus 620, we're going to start right to the right of the door, and we're going to work our way up. So at the very bottom is going to be our Ryco Titan jack activation switch. So to get your jacks activated, you're going to reach in here and push that button. You want to see that green light come on. Once that light comes on, now we should be able to run our jacks. Now to do that, you're going to use this wireless remote, and this is just like you're sitting in the driver's seat of your truck. So driver's front, driver rear, passenger rear, and it's also listed front, rear, left, and right. So it's just like you're sitting in the truck, though, like you're going down the road, so you don't get your left and your right mixed up. And then lift the center two yellow buttons is going to lift all four jacks together. So everything will go up as one. And then lower will do the same thing. And then you can do fronts together or individually, rears together or individually. You can do sides together as long as everything's going in the same direction. You cannot do like opposing corners, but other than that, you can do everything there. And that's how you're going to raise and lower the camper, and you can also use it to maneuver a little bit into the bed if you're not quite square. Learning how to maneuver your jacks a little bit is helpful. Okay, moving up from there, we're going to have our awning switch. So on and off for our awning. And then we've got the extend retract button. So once that's flipped on, you'll hit the extend side of that button. The awning's going to go out and stop on its own. And whenever you want to retract it, you're just going to hit to the retract side, and it's going to retract on its own. It's a one-touch extend retract. And then whenever you don't want that on, just make sure you flip that off. Switch right above that says awning, and that's actually for the awning light that is mounted on the awning. And that covers everything down there other than what's behind this cabinet door here. And what is going to be here is just some service access, your Alde units mounted in there, your water pump, the backside of the Nautilus system, so plumbing, drainage. It's just a lot of service access in there for you. Not a whole lot as the customer that you would need to get in there for. All right, moving up to our kitchen. We've got our kitchen sink, hot and cold water. 2-burner cooktop. Now with these glass tops in these, you want to, they drop in slightly whenever they fall back, and that's what helps hold them open. So when you go to close it, if you just pull it, you're actually going to likely bend the hinges, so you do want to pick up on it just slightly and then let it close. That way you don't end up messing up the hinges on your cover. To get the burners going, it is a push button ignition. You just push that guy right there in the middle. It's wired in through a battery. That so to get to that, you just unscrew the cover here out and then pull the battery out. It's just a little AAA, and this just screws on. And then to get your burner going, you're just going to turn the knob to the light position, and then you just push down on the light gray button there in the middle, the sparker, to get it going, and once it lights, you're good to go, do your cooking. Our switch panel here in the back, our nuCamp panel, so this is where we can monitor our gray tank level and our fresh tank level. Right here on the side, we've also got our water pump activation switch. If that red pump light is on, that means that this switch here is turned on, or the one in the Nautilus is turned on, causing that water pump to run. Now, you only need the water pump running if you're winterizing or if you are pulling water from the fresh water tank. If you're hooked into the city water through a water hose, you do not need to have the water pump running. Then we've got our porch light switch. We've got our sink light switch, which is going to be our light right back here. And then we've got our accent lighting, which are going to be our strip lights that are above and below the cabinets. And that's all on there. And then we've got our microwave, just a standard microwave. Overhead storage compartments, standard to the nuCamp. We've got our push latches here. You just push them to release the latch, then allows you to open the cabinet doors. And inside here, we just have some storage. We've got some ventilation there on the side for your microwave, which is why that's there. Moving on down, we've got our windows. So all of your windows and shades will operate the same in this unit. To do your shades, the night shade's going to pull up from the bottom. Daytime shade or bug screen, whatever you want to call it, will pull down from the top. Now, to snap these together, you just pull them together, and this clip here holds them. To get them to release, you're just going to lightly pull on that clip and then push them apart. These can kind of pop off kind of easy. They pop right back in, not a big deal. And then we've got our thermal windows here. So first thing I like to do is make sure these knobs are slightly loose. And then we're just going to rotate all of our latches. And then we can push our window out to whichever desired position we want. Whenever you get it there, you're just going to snug these knobs down. You don't want to torque on them real hard. If you over tighten them, they actually have like a rubber in there that bites on the tube. If you over torque them, you'll actually wear that rubber out, and you may see that they don't hold as well as they used to. Now to close it down, we're just going to loosen these up. And then we can swing this in. And you want to make sure that when you get ready to travel, these are latched on the fully closed position. They do have a vent position, which if you look at the receiver on the window frame, you do have a slot in the middle, and that is actually for ventilation. It does not pull the window tight against the gasket, and it allows some fresh air ventilation without, you know, rainwater or a lot of wind coming in. We do have some access. So this is, again, these are going to be some service access panels for some electrical wiring. This is actually going to be part of your Alde system. This is where the glycol flows through and gets hot and then radiates out of these vents to heat your unit. If you do pop these off, they're really easy to put back on. You just want to push these little flaps to where the bigger pieces are into the middle. So when you push it back against the wall, these snap around the wall just like that. Okay, and then there's going to be nothing under here for you for service access or anything like that. This is going to be your GFI 110 outlet right here, trip and reset. If you're having 110 outlet problems, check this guy first. And then we've got your charge station here with your cigarette lighter style USB-A, USB-C. Over on our driver's side dinette bench, again, we're going to have a couple of access panels. So let me move these cushions. And under here, under this skinny panel here in the front, this is actually where your lithium battery is going to be mounted. So if you need access to that, these are going to be #1 square bit. And you can pull those screws out and then gain access to that. Now behind this service panel is actually going to be your battery disconnect, which is going to be this guy right here. We've got your inline breaker for your jack system. And then we've got your jack control board, which has some 30 amp fuses on it as well. So if you need service access for that stuff, turning your battery disconnect on and off for storage is a great idea. And if you've got jacks not working, checking those fuses, making sure that that breaker right there is not tripped. Now again, this panel's the same, so I'm just going to pop those out. snap that back on, and then this one is going to have similar stuff behind it as the one on the passenger side. Just some service access for the convector and some hoses. And then before we move back to the toilet area, underneath our dinette, we've got a little switch here that says battery heat. That is for your lithium battery heater. So if you're camping in cold weather, you're just going to flip that on. That red light's on. That's going to activate the heater inside the battery to keep it above freezing temperature so it can accurately charge and discharge. And then on the other side, we do have your WFCO auto detect power distribution panel. In here, we're going to have your 110 breakers. We're going to have your 12-volt fuses. And the lithium charger is also integrated into this, so when you're plugged into shore power, it will recharge your lithium battery. And then we've got your RV COLP gas alarm down here close to the floor. So if that guy goes off, it's going to make a lot of noise. It could be that you've got a low battery. It could be that you've got some heavy cleaning solvents. Anything like that could set it off. But it could be a LP gas leak, or you could have some CO for incomplete LP burn. So always things to be aware of. Test it regularly. Make sure it's in proper operating condition to protect yourself by pushing the button on it. It just runs a little self-test, and then you should be good to go. All right, let's hop back into this corner back here, and let's take a look at our cassette toilet and our refrigerator. All right, so back driver's side corner, we've got our refrigerator, our toilet, our smoke detector, and we've got a roof vent. So the roof vent also has a light ring built into it. The button on the outside on the back is to do the light. There is a fuse in here that just screws in and out too to check. And then this opens and closes by just pushing. So you just push in on that little black lever there, you push up and it opens. And then on the inside screen area, there's another button, and that actually turns the fan on for this vent. And then to close it, we're just going to push again, and we're going to pull straight down. Our smoke detector, battery powered. Again, much like your LPCO alarm, make sure you're checking it regularly. Make sure the batteries are good, and run it through its self-test. Make sure everything is working. Inside our isotherm refrigerator, we do have our control knob in the upper right-hand corner. 0 is off. The light is controlled by the door. And then you've got 1 to 7 cooling settings, depending on how cold you want things to get. You do have a little freezer section up here if you've got anything that you want to keep extra cold. Just below that, we're going to have our toilet. So our cassette toilet, we're going to remove this cushion. We're going to take our lid, and it's going to fold in half and lean against the back wall. And then we're going to kick open this little access door that's going to come open. And now we can rotate our seat out to where it's comfortable for us, however you want to get in there and sit. And then button here on the wall is going to be how you add water to the bowl. So you just push the button, water goes into the bowl. Do your business. When you're done, this is going to be your flush right here. You're going to push that lever over. It's going to open the flap in the bottom of the toilet and allow everything down into the cassette. Okay, so to make our secondary sleeping area out of our dinette, I've already removed the lagoon table, but it's very easy to do. It's just a sliding system that goes on this mount. So this just slides onto there, onto that T-track, and then you tighten it with this handle to keep it from moving. Same with removing the post from the table. You want to loosen this one, and the table will come out. And then you also have this one that you can loosen up to really position that table how you want it. But once all that's off, we're going to take our tabletop, and it's going to sit right on these two stiles, one on each side of the dinette. And then you're going to fill in with your cushions to make your sleeping space. It's that simple. And then you can store your lagoon table mount underneath, and that way it's out of the way. And then to put it back, it's just the opposite. We're going to take the table up, put it back on the mount, and slide everything back into place. All right, so up in our bedroom area here, we do have some storage compartments. We've got a wireless charge pad up in each corner, as well as a cup holder. And then again, we've got these louvers cut in our wood, and that's going to allow that heat out. So if you're cold weather camping and you want some heat up here, make sure you don't cover that up with stuff. All of your windows operate the same, coming all the way around. And then we've got our reading lights up here. Going to be a little touch. You just push them. If you push and hold, you'll get the white lighting. If you want just the accent, just push it. And then here on the side, in this cabinet, you're going to find your Alde glycol fluid. So they've marked where it should be. You've got the 2 black lines. You usually want it about halfway in between. So real easy to check on this unit and make sure your glycol's in the right level. We do have a light switch up here. It's going to be for our strip lighting above both windows. You do have a cable access port right above that switch and a 110 outlet below it. And then we've got our Alde control panel. Now I've done a full video walkthrough on that, so check in the comments below for the link to that video on how to operate the Alde 3030. Overhead, we've got your air conditioner. It's going to be 2 knobs. One is going to be for actually telling it whether you want just fan or if you actually want compressor to be cool, right? So we've got, these knobs are a little difficult to tell how they're pointing, but there's a little extra plastic on one side right now that if you really look at it, you can see that it's pointing to the off section. Now, if you want to go to cold, you've got to go to the blue side. If you want fan only, that's got to go to the gray side. And then this knob over here is to adjust temperature. And if you're prepped with a heat strip in here, then you would have that option as well. And then you've got this right here is going to be for your air to blow straight down. If you close that off, it's going to force your air to your end flaps and your side flaps. And then we've got your cleaning here. So to do this, I like to open that front flap and go through with my fingers and push down to pop this out. And that way I can get access to the filter. And then you're just going to remove that, clean it with some warm, non-harsh soap. Let it dry completely before putting it back in, and then reinstall it. Be somewhat gentle with those screens. They are pretty thin. You don't want to damage them and have to buy it if you don't have to. And then we're just going to fish all that back in there, if I could do it right. Snap. There we go. And then one last thing I forgot to mention in this little cubby right here, we do have a 110 outlet over here on the passenger side, and on the driver's side we do have another charge port with a cigarette lighter style USB-A, USB-C. All right, I think that covers everything on the inside. All right, there you go. That's your technical walkthrough on the 2026 Cirrus 620 from nuCamp. But sometimes I miss things, and if I have or you have any further questions, check us out online at princesscraft.com or check us out in person in Round Rock, Texas and Katy, Texas.